Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. Today I am not at Green Pastures Farm. We're about 30 minutes south of Green Pastures Farm. My special guest today is Karla, and I'm doing a ranch consult for Karla. And Karla, give me a little bit of your background and what brought you onto this farm.
Well, so I'm super excited because I'm going to tell you what the date is. So Greg and I were supposed to spend New Year's Eve together, but due to weather, it is January 4th.
Yep.
4th, yes.
Yep.
Of 2025. So what a way to kick off the year. So my name's Karla Klingner, and this farm is owned by Wildwood Farm, which is a partnership with myself and another gentleman who's well known for pasture raised pork called Kramer. He goes by the slogan, or I think handle Pope of Pork. So to have the Greg Judy on the farm that is also with Kramer, it's like just beyond.
Yeah.
But we work under the principles of agroecology, which embraces regenerative practices, and so we've figured out how the pig side works. And I grew up on a beef and cattle farm, and so we didn't have these sort of more regenerative practices incorporated. So this is quite a day. So I have spent the day with Greg learning how to set up the fencing systems, how we get the water sources going. Behind us is the famous Boone County Cedar Creek. So we're actually standing on the Boone County and Callaway County line of Missouri. And this farm is really special because we bought it from the Horner family that had been, I think, in the family for about over 100 years.
Wow.
And this has never had a single chemical on it. And what's so exciting about Greg being here is it's a blank slate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting to help lay out.
There's nothing here.
Nothing here, a total blank slate.
Yeah. We were on the other side of the creek a while ago and trying to figure out how to get across the creek. We found out we don't have to because all your land borders on this side. But I was trying to find a can down in that creek in a riffle to mark a spot where we could see where we'd been. Folks, there's no pollution out there. There wasn't a can, there wasn't a piece of plastic, there was nothing in this creek.
It's
unbelievable.
It's amazing because the landowners around here have really prided themselves. So it's incredible because we almost sit down in an island where there is no risk for, it's so biosecure. So when we get this truly set up, there is no risk for dicamba drift, for any sort of glyphosate residue.
Yep.
There's never been a drop of chemical or pesticide on this farm, and there's not anything around this farm that would allow for that. So this is about as biosecure site as you can get, but our soils need some help.
They do.
So you looked at that
I
today.
did. Yep. I was so excited when she told me about Russ Kramer's brother.
Yes, Dr. Bob Kramer.
Bob Kramer. I remember he gave a talk years ago on, he was a soil health
He
professor.
He was a soil microbiologist, probably the leading soil microbiologist in the world, who had discovered the impact of what glyphosate was having on the microbes in the soil.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah, big time, and had a hard time not being silenced. As a son of a World War II vet and a Vietnam vet himself, and working for the government, when the government silenced him, he stayed silent until his later years. And sadly, we lost Bob to cancer in March of 2024. And so actually what's so special about this land around here is this site is going to be dedicated and is going to have a research dedication to the Dr. Robert and Mo Kramer research and wellness health practice and center all around these regenerative practices.
He's up there smiling.
He is.
I guarantee you, because you were telling me earlier he actually got to walk some of the pastures with you.
He did.
Before he passed away.
He did. We didn't close on this land until
We haven't bought it yet.
We haven't bought it yet, but we were looking at buying it, and he was on our board with our bigger entity called Nature's Atlas, where we focus on what we call the 50-55 plan, which is how you achieve food security and food sovereignty by supporting localized systems that emphasize the region's geographic strengths.
Yep.
And then how you enter fair and equitable trade with other regions that are doing things that are special. So when you think about Champaign and the Champaign region, or the Vidalia onion and Vidalia, Georgia, that sort of thing. And this is great cattle country, great sheep country.
It really is.
And one of the things that Greg's been teaching me today is how great our silver culture is, which we knew, but I don't think I appreciated the magnitude of how great our silver culture is on this.
You really do. You got some really beautiful timber on here, and it hasn't been managed. It needs to be managed, and it'll get better with good management.
Yeah. But Dr. Kramer came down here and was getting ready to run soil tests. But when he came out to the island, and then over here to my wolf tree that I was so excited about. And he was getting ready to run soil tests when the cancer was very progressive and fast. But we told him when his last weeks that this farm was going to be dedicated to him and to his life's work and to his mission. And his wife was kind enough to open up his research and his resources. So the knowledge that Russ Kramer brings on pasture-raised pork, you and the regenerative practices with the cattle and the sheep, and Bob's work and soil health, I'm excited for the next couple of years what this farm is going to start looking like.
It's going to be awesome. Talk a little bit about your beef breed. It's a unique breed.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we had this in common. By the way, Greg, like Russ and Dr. Kramer, is modest. I was so excited. First of all, I have to say, when I cold emailed you, so even though we're in Boone County, we didn't know one another.
No.
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, right. We didn't know one another. And he responded the same day. When I emailed you, you responded the same business day. And I was so impressed by that. And I've been looking forward to this day for a month. I can't even tell you. But yeah, so one of the things we have in common is our love for specialty breeds and heritage breeds. And so we work with a breed called Tarentaise, which comes from the Swiss Alp region. And they are a dual purpose beef and dairy breed where we've been focusing the last 4 years on fine-tuning and getting that double-stacked A2 genetics for purposes of a quality of milk that is easier to digest, especially for most women.
Yes.
And
it's getting to be a big thing.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing. When 99% of the U.S. dairy industry is tied historically to 2 Holstein bulls. Two Holstein bulls. So we have no biodiversity in our dairy industry. And so when you think about that from a security, a disease standpoint, but that was a mutated trait in the Holstein that they did produce more milk. But with that came other variables like the casein protein and things that people think is maybe lactose. But in all actuality, I think a lot of it is more the protein. So that we've been breeding and breeding to focus on that. And then they are such a maternal breed, a docile breed. So unlike the Holstein where the males are more aggressive and so it's dangerous to keep those males on the farm, we're able to keep the males, feed them out, and they still make a beautiful marble beef. So I haven't told you the story. So how I got into this breed, because my dad is into traditional black high-end show cattle, Angus, Key, Simi. This is my sister and my brother, so this was a big variation. But with the heat, with the climate issues that we have, these animals perform incredibly well in 110-degree humidity and below freezing temperatures. And so they're climate adaptable. They're great in maternal animals. But how I got into them is I was in Switzerland and I went to a food truck and ordered a double cheeseburger, very bad, at 10 at night. And normally here you'd get something like that and you go to bed and you feel miserable. I kid you not, I woke up the next morning, I had no stomach issues. I swear I looked 5 pounds lighter. I was like, what was in this? It was so good. So next day I go down to the food truck and I asked the guys, what was this cheeseburger? And they laughed and they said, oh, well, it was Tarentaise beef. And they have the highest buttermilk fat of any dairy breed, and that's what the most famous, like Gruyere and all the cheeses in France and Switzerland
are made
from this, right? And so the cheese was also from the same. I thought, you got to be kidding! This is the same animal, and that was when I was hooked. And I came back here to the U.S. and finally found a farm that was a good anchor farm to start working with me on the genetic lines, and then actually 3 years ago during that bad drought in Texas, the oldest line of Tarentaise genetics that goes back 200 years in the U.S. was going to be killed. And the guy that we partnered with to do this contacted that farm, and everyone said we were crazy. And we put those half-dead animals, they were gaunt, and they were starved, on the trailer all the way from Texas to Missouri. And they're beautiful. Like, kid you not, the 24 hours of them arriving, one had a baby on the farm. And we then really started propagating from that old line. And so we now have the oldest line of Tarentaise genetics in the United States.
And these are not 1,600 pound cows. They're at about 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, they do about 1,100 pounds. They do a nice body condition. They're not going to make your steak that's going to hang over the end of but they make a nice, good, heavy marbled steak.
I don't think we need those kind of steaks.
I don't think we do either.
Yeah, we can't How many
Yeah.
people can eat a 20-inch ribeye?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things we bonded on today is, you know, picking animals that perform well.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when it doesn't make sense to be doing things like gene editing animals to control genetics in a way that there's just better choices, and it's called biodiversity and breed selection that works for a region.
Absolutely.
And that's what you do.
Yeah, matching animals to their environment.
That's
you
right.
know, and you got to be called. You got to call animals that don't work.
Yeah.
Get rid of those.
So one of my most fun things with Greg today that I have to say is I love the land so much, and it's not very often anymore. We're so far removed from the land and so industrialized in our practices that I have just watched you in admiration all day, acknowledge every species of tree, where my beavers are, where the raccoons were, what the habitats were, where the bucks were rubbing against the trees.
Yeah.
I mean, the list goes on and on. I am in awe of how connected and immediately in tune you are with the land. It is not just about regenerative practices. What you're doing is so much. You are just an extension of nature. It's truly an honor. Truly an honor.
You're going to make me blush, Karla.
It's true, though. It's so true.
Well, thank you for those kind comments. And folks, follow me on this. We're going to have some more videos. We're going to be working with Karla some on this, and we're going to get her started and get you started right.
I am a very patient courter. You don't get to go anywhere now, so you have to keep coming back through this journey. This is going to be. I mean, think about what this is going to look like over the next 3 to 5 years.
How people can follow what you do, though. You haven't expressed a whole lot of what you do, and this gal, she's done a lot.
Well,
I didn't know anything about you.
It's funny.
I'm that way. I'll find out about you.
Well,
and I did, and you've done a lot. You're doing a lot.
We are trying. We are trying to bring forth a food system that is more secure and affordable. Eating well and feeding your family well and being that bridge between agriculture and consumer health, that bridge between health and wellness. It shouldn't be a luxury.
Right.
It's a basic human right.
Right.
And we feel that we're figuring out how to connect that middle of the supply chain from the genetics and the farm through that end market. And it's a rough road because it's a
noble goal.
It's a very
our food
hard road.
system is so vulnerable. You were talking. We got a storm coming in, a major storm coming in tonight. And you said the eggs and the milk.
So yesterday I actually went to the store, and we have chickens at another site, so we have more than enough eggs. We aren't selling yet because we're not licensed to sell yet. We're working on the genetics on the poultry as well. And so but when I went to 3 different grocery stores here in Columbia because we're preparing for maybe 12 to 20 inches of snow tonight. It's supposed to start tonight. That's why we're all bundled up and all have our long johns on. And so I actually took photos. I'll send it to you so you can post it with a video of like the empty shelves and saying due to the holidays and supply chain issues, milk, creams, eggs, I mean, fresh vegetables, the shelves were bare.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just a sign of the vulnerability of our supply chain. So one of the things I haven't even had a chance to tell you is we actually are going to be featured in an event at the Vatican in Italy in May.
Really? Your company?
Yeah, with leaders from all over the world have identified that they think we've got the solution for fast, scalable replication of how we solve the food supply chain.
Wow.
And so we have leaders from the UAE, many of the Gulf Coast countries, major countries and tribal kings out of Africa, the EU, all coming together to put an event together around this.
I feel
so you have to come be one of my days. I don't know. Well, we have to figure it out because your grazing school is what dates May? That's May 26th, 7th, and 8th. Please don't tell me it's that.
It's the first week of May.
So we could do your grazing school, then you can come with me to Italy. Oh my gosh, as we were talking out loud, I panicked that was going to be at the same time. I'm so glad it's not.
I'll have to bring my wife, Jan.
Please.
I won't be able to leave.
You will have to, you and Jan will have to be they are going to be my special guests to Italy and to the Vatican at this event that is going to be
awesome.
Really.
You got to give me those dates so I
will.
don't book something.
I will text them to you so you guys can talk about it and get it on your calendar. It would be my honor,
Karla,
to have you as a special guest.
How do people follow your company and what you got a lot going on. She hasn't even touched on it, but how do people follow what you're doing?
Our website is www.naturesatlas.earth. We're launching a podcast here in the next 60 days, and we've got some books coming out, and so we'll be getting more aggressive on social media. We've tried to stay a little quiet and below the radar because so much of what we're doing is a bit controversial in industrialized circles.
Right.
And so we waited until we were ready to come out. So we are going to be doing that soon.
Well, make sure you give me the website.
I will.
I'll put that in my description section. So
I will do that.
I know people are going to want to follow what you're doing.
Well,
So-
I mean, my team has been stalking you online for for years.
I didn't
mean,
know
if
it.
you only knew the videos that circulate among our team when you post your YouTube following, and so you have no idea how many people messaged me, even from Europe this morning, because they knew I was meeting with you.
That's awesome.
I mean,
It's a big world out there.
but you know, it's so
But
funny.
it's small.
I mean,
too.
that we're both in Boone County. It's just
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
It really is.
So
Unbelievable.
I can't even tell you what this day has meant to me, really, and to bring your knowledge into this production system. I mean,
Well, it's an exciting time. It really is, and I think the more we learn about it and critique it and get the parts correctly, you know, where everything's working in sync with nature. There's a quote, folks, and it goes like this: Nothing in nature is given; it is won. W-O-N. And I'm like, what? It's just the opposite. In other words, we're being taught at our major universities, unless you have a big club and beat Mother Nature in submission, you're going to lose. No, it's just the opposite. We need to learn to work with nature, and everybody wins. The soil, the wildlife, local communities, the food, and in the end, we're healthier.
It's one of the things I wasn't expecting that much from our time together today. Again, the way that you embrace what nature has to offer, not in some cliche term that the biotech industry uses where they like to talk about harnessing nature to gene edit away. You are the exact opposite of that, and you have learned and respected what generations before us have done and figure out how to embrace it and make it economically viable in today's busy world. And I am in awe of what you've done.
Well, thank you, Karla.
Thank you.
Yeah, look forward to the future and working together with you. Folks, check out the description section to follow Karla. And I'm going to sign out. You all have a great day. We'll see you next.
Thank you.
See you next time, and you can hit stop there.